Hi.
Hey, can y'all hear
Hi.
me?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we can hear you
I
just
don't even do
fine.
live.
This
How
is
y'all
so
doing?
fun.
Okay, she waved.
I'm waving at
Hey,
everybody.
y'all.
Oh man, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I'm super excited to talk about mothers and sons and the dynamic, especially given, we just had Mother's Day, and it's just something that as you get older, you can never stop learning about. Knowing how to separate the idea of your parent from them being just a human being or a human trying. And so we have here tonight, of course, Keith. Keith is going to help us moderate tonight. You want to introduce yourself, Keith? Say hello.
Yeah, what's up, guys? My name is Keith Manley. Like I said in the previous, conversation, I'm more so of a fan in general, and really appreciated what Denise and the rest of the group have done with this, upcoming film. Background, I'm a full-time creative out here in LA, and yeah, so I'm just appreciative of the opportunity.
And Chase, you want to say hello?
Well, first off, thank you, Denise, for holding the space, this cipher of beautiful faces. I'm Chase, born in Los Angeles, or grew up in Los Angeles. I came about this because Denise said she's directing a movie and said, "Yo, Chase, I want you to, spit some game about being a son." And I was like, "For sure." And so, yeah, I'm a director, I'm a writer, yeah, and I'm just down to be part of the conversation wherever it goes. So.
I love it. And
Yeah.
I want to clarify for everybody, I did not direct this. This is directed by Joseph E. Austin II. I am just well, not just, but the producer on it, and I wrote the film. And I would love to introduce and say a couple things about Pernell. Pernell is a fabulous, stunning, wonderful performer. I was
Thank
so honored
you.
to get her be a part of this project on the latter half of our journey. And when I say she completed the arc of this film, it gave it a whole different dimension and a new layer of depth. And when you think about an actor and what it means to be an actor, it's all in the listening. And if you are an actor out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And she is a masterclass on what it means to be a masterful listener. Pernell, do you want to say hello?
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, y'all. Thank you, Denise, for making this time, making this space for us to talk about this and your fantastic writing and your film and your work as an actress. That was hilarious to me in my spirit. um, Yeah. Thank you all for making space for being here. I appreciate you. You said Chase and your
Keith,
name,
Keith,
Keith,
yeah.
Chase and Keith. And I am from the Boogie Down Bronx,
Mm.
from New York. And I was really excited to collaborate with Denise and Joseph and Shannon. Once again, I worked with him on City on the Hill. And I was grateful to be a part of it. And the set was amazing.
Mm.
And just reading this was a real ride. And then when I got to see it, I said, oh my God, this is wild. Why do they have so much dating history up here? No. But so I played Delilah. I played the lead's mom. And it's kind of like a big turning arc in his, I guess, discovery and learning about himself and trying to make a change, you know. So I'm glad to be here and to discuss the film and with the Mother's Day hanging around us, discuss all of the things. So yeah, thank you for having me, and I do appreciate you and Chase and Keith. I got the names.
Pernell, pleasure meeting you.
Yes, it's
So, can you tell us like a little bit more about your character, Pernell? Like, we know that you're the main character's mom in the film. We know that his name is Wild and that he is in multiple dating situations. And then we kind of see that unfold over the course of 1 week. Can you tell us a little bit more about your character specifically?
My character is, like you said, his mother, Wild's mother. And from her, you really get the sense of what happened when he grew up and how their relationship impacted his romantic entanglements, relationships, situationships. But what I saw when I read Delilah was a woman that she finally chose herself from her
Mm-hmm.
own relationship with Wild's father, and she was also an actress. So she actively chose herself. And whether totally choosing herself was good, I think choosing herself was good.
Mm-hmm.
However, that separation, that break that the son experienced, for whatever reason, something fell through the cracks with his nurturing, his attachment style, his kind of relationship to his mom, where, well, reading up on attachment styles and seeing that Wild was an avoidant, very avoidant, you can sense that in that kind of shuffle of her trying to find herself, getting back to herself, that he was kind of lost in the sauce. That he was, I don't think she meant to make him a casualty, but it was just kind of one of those things. It was like, okay, well, I need to get back to work. If I'm going to, raise you, if I'm going to have you, I need to get back to work and act. And, actors, we travel. In another sense, a lot of artists have that issue sometimes with their own children. If they're on the road a lot, they have
Hmm.
to make that time to bond with their child,
Yeah.
to really have that time with their child, because if they don't, the child will manage to make up for it in different ways, or even feel like being alone, that alone time, however they take it, they're going to say, oh, it's better to be alone. I'm good with being securely alone and not
Mm.
have too much closeness with anyone. Um, or put that energy into their achievements. From what I've read, avoidance, not that I am not
No, tell us.
a therapist. You will not have nobody TikToking me. But from what I've read, that avoidance tend to be very overachieve. Like overachievement is the thing with them. They'll have many degrees. They will soar in their achievements. And the thing about it is, like, the loop. The loop is missing in the romantic relationship that will mirror the mother not having that bond or enough time to bond with them. And so you'll have a lot of situationships that don't have the commitment or the intimacy. So we meet me, the mom, at the end of the shit hitting the fan, with
Mm.
all the rest of his relationships hitting an impasse, which needs to happen, by the way.
Before you go on, because we don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about maybe Delilah's attachment style? Like, have you thought about that?
I think after experience losing herself, and she probably self-abandoned for
Mm.
a while to keep that relationship going with her son's father. I think she could have been secure before that, but now she is more detached. I
Mm.
think she's more detached and more about what she needs. And I don't know if that means that she would be an avoider. She doesn't feel anxious, but
No.
she feels like she's fulfilling her needs now and putting herself first. And other people may have to find their own way. And she doesn't mean to be cruel. She's not cruel,
Hmm.
but you know, it's only but so much she can do at this rate because he's grown, you know, and that's sad too because it's hard to break patterns,
Mm,
especially when your nervous system is attached to it,
yeah.
you know. So I think she might have been secure
Mm.
before that, and I just think she now is more of a, I'm going to do my own thing, and everything is going as well as it can go, and I need to put me first.
Mm,
And I'm not mad at that because I've experienced and seen, even in my own family, where a lot of women self abandon to a fault.
mm-hmm.
And when they have burnout from putting so much into the kids, so much into the husband, so much into, they are emptied out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not mad at her, but I understand it if she's a little detached from things.
Pernell,
Yeah.
you bring up a really interesting point. I have to ask, do you think, from based on what you're saying, you believe that attachment styles can change, like people's attachment style changes depending on the like season they're in their life, maybe?
Mm,
I think it's a number of things. I think it's how you were raised, the patterns of how your parents raised you. It's also experiences,
Yeah,
you
mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
especially your first few relationships. You're just learning, you know, over the course of a lifetime, we're still learning, right? And then in addition to that, it's like we all have nervous systems
yeah,
that get triggered, that respond to a stimulus one way, or sometimes you could get very used to a toxic way of existing because your nervous system is, that's my normal. Oh, okay, this is normal because who knows? Your parents probably had a toxic way of dealing with each other. So you learn to, oh, this feels normal. And then when something boring comes along, when, well, boring or
Right.
stable, you just like, I mean, you all right, but you may be more like, okay, when is the shoe going to drop? Or
Yep.
I don't know, different things like that. But I think it depends on a lot of factors. And I think for an avoidant, but this is the thing, are they aware that they're an avoidant?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because so many times, I know for me, you don't know how you're in your pattern until you're out of the thing. You say, oh, I got triggered.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, why? Okay, I see now. And even for the other person that's dealing with you, they got their triggers too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I would say get some therapy, and you really have to unwork and, you know, detangle a lot of things, a lot of thought patterns, and rewire the nervous system. And that takes time. It
for
takes
sure.
time. It takes time to heal, and it takes, but some people don't heal, they just go right into something else. And I could understand that because sometimes people are afraid of examining themselves.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Honey, listen, wait a minute, can I be real?
Yeah.
please.
For my ass to get up in therapy, I ran from it so much. I said,
Mm-hmm.
girl, you are analyzing characters all day every day. What is the problem with analyzing you?
Mm.
Mm.
Whoop, whoop,
Mm-hmm.
whoop. So I mean, but it helps though. Therapy does help, and I would recommend it for anyone looking to improve themselves. It is possible. It is possible, but it's a lot of work
Yeah.
because I don't know. And then it's like, when does that change happen? Do you get married and then you find out, wow, this person got triggered by so many things, and now y'all two have to deal with that or
Mm-hmm.
work? It's like a thing, you
Hmm.
know.
Well, how similar do you think you are, or would you say you were or are to your character, the character that you're playing?
I think I'm similar to her. I understand not abandoning yourself anymore and putting yourself. to the front. Um, Not necessarily neglecting a partner, or if I have a child, not neglecting that, but I can see how she got lost
Hmm.
and then had to kind of be like, okay, I have to get my life back,
Hmm.
you know. Um, I can see that. I can see that. I've been there before,
What
getting
about
lost.
now? What about how you differ? Like, what do you think how you think there are there some qualities that she has that you may not have those at all? It may not be a part of your personality.
She's very similar in some ways. You know, I'm always inquisitive, like, okay, what's going on with you? No. Let me see. Is there something? She's an actress. I'm an actress. Is there something? Probably the wig. If I had to really think about it. But I understand the arc of where she's at. You know, a woman of a certain age,
Hmm.
you wanna have a certain life for yourself that she's built up, you know, along the way. Now, if she that wouldn't have been possible if she stayed in whatever that toxicity was with homeboy just to keep it all together. That's another thing.
Right.
There's
Hmm.
people that keep things together. That's not necessarily good for that child.
Mm.
Hmm.
You know, you can have an avoidant, but if y'all stay together in that toxicity, okay, so now you got a toxic avoidant. Now you got somebody that's even more damaged, or you know, not that he's damaged, but he got some rewiring to do, you know.
Hmm. Yeah. I want to ask both Keith and Chase this. How much do you guys think a man's relationship with his mother shapes how he shows up in a romantic relationship?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, do you mind if I go, Keith?
Oh, please,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would say a lot. You know what I mean? Because as you know, like we eat the same food that our mothers eat when they are pregnant during their term. Whatever music they're listening to, we could probably hear those reverberations where we're connected to our mother. But when you're born, if there's ever a case where a child, a son or a daughter, is abandoned by their mother, as our brain is developing, that's a heavy blow to a young developing child to have to deal with that first abandonment.
Hmm.
And maybe that may happen in small ways throughout their life, so that by the time they come to dating and expanding and opening up and trying to love other people, their first love was met with abandonment. So maybe that's something they're really guarded for, or any situation that feels remotely close to that. However that child, that man or woman deals with it is what they do. And that's the trigger or the trauma response, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of my friends who've had, you know, difficult relationships with their mother may either have gone the opposite extreme when they're dating their own partner. They either are players and always keep different women, they keep a distance with women,
Hmm.
or they wanted to really treat their women on a pedestal in that situation so that um, they never make their partner feel the way that they felt from their mother or their parent. That's some of the things that I've seen.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that was, extremely well said. I think that first relationship, I think your relationship with your mom probably is like the cornerstone of like all your relationships in general,
Mhm.
and like as you get older, and being like my mom and I are extremely close, and I'm very grateful for that. But then once I got into like started doing mentorship in my early 20s, and I've been doing it ever since. And the one thing I will say is. Something that I've noticed is, whatever the relationship is, like Chase said, whatever the relationship is with the mom, they start to seek in the girls that they're attracted to, that they like, or that they think they like at as teenagers, as young teenagers. And sometimes you would see these interactions with the girls that they like, and the girl would maybe like be treating them like crap, like kind of just talking smack to them and stuff. but they receive it as love because a lot of times that's what mom did, because maybe mom, maybe dad wasn't around and mom treated the son like he was the man of the house, which in a lot of ways he was. And so they just had that, kind of like banter, or, kind of almost like, sometimes negative talk. They receive that in a different way. It doesn't come off as hateful or as negative as you would think it, as when you're hearing it from the outside looking in can come off. And, but like, I think, so to your point, I think that that mom son relationship is like extremely important. It's probably the most important relationship you can have outside of obviously your dad.
Yeah. And for context, in the film, Delilah left Wild when he was a teenager.
Mm,
So it's really interesting to think about, okay, if it happens at 7 versus it happening at 15.
yeah,
Like, and Keith, you said something very interesting that you noticed it manifest around that teenager age where I guess you're first dating, and now how aware of it did you just now become aware of it, or do you feel like it was something that you understood when you were younger?
yeah. I hadn't was definitely wasn't aware of it at the time. I think it took working closely with like teenage boys to see it. And then obviously you do a lot of comparing to like how you were as a teenager or as a preteen, and you start asking yourself, well, why wasn't, why is that okay? Why do you feel like it's okay for y'all to have that type of relationship, or her to talk to you that way, or for you to talk to her that way? And then you start realizing, oh, then you meet mom, right? And like mom comes to pick, the kid up, and then you see their relationship. It's like, oh, it makes like perfect sense.
So how do you, because I would imagine that your advice to these kids is varied, but how do you
Oh yeah.
approach a situation? How do you approach even like mentoring these kids, or like giving them insight from where your vantage point?
Yeah, I try to pinpoint certain things, but when it comes to uh, you know those early relationships, a lot of times, and it's sad to say it, but a lot of times you just have to go through it in order to learn from it. It's not anything anybody would have been able to tell me at 13, 14, 15 years old, like to stop me from liking who I was liking, or all these different things. You kind of got to go through it and then realize like, oh, I probably should look out for these things at some point. So you can talk all you want to teenagers. You might as well be talking to a brick wall, honestly. You can say stuff and like, just for to make make you feel better, but they're gonna do what they want to do. We all know that. We were all doing what we wanted to do it as teenagers. So yeah.
It's such a catch-22 because it's like Pernell was saying earlier, we get this in our nervous systems, and we now have like a habit as a full-grown adult, which is really difficult to shift. But then even as a teenager, before they get this habit ingrained, it's even hard for them to shift. And so it sounds like, when we are having discussions now about people communicating better as they're older, it seems like it's something that needed to be fostered from like even before they were teenagers,
Hmm.
type of thing. Pernell, I wanted to know, how do you see this sort of showing up from the outside, or with maybe like the men in your life in terms of like their mother-son dynamic?
Hmm, that's a deep question. Also, I wanted to add to the previous thing that it's so crazy nowadays because the young men now are socialized through what they see on TV. Social media plays a huge part
Oh yeah.
from every avenue. The red pill kind of thing, they see their uh, people that they look up to talking a certain way about women, you know, discussing crazy things. But the men in I don't know, that's a complicated answer. Um, the men in my life that I've seen, they are from the South. It's a
Mm,
certain way that Black men from the South thought about women that they are the leaders, they are the providers, they're the protectors, but the women are of a lower standing. And that shows through a lot of things and what's expected and how things should go with the order. I remember like growing up, we had this thing where in New Year's, you had to have a man walk over your door seal because that was seen as good luck.
Mm.
Mm.
Now, if a woman walked across the door seal on New Year's Day, you're already going to have a bad year. Do you see how, like, and it's also entrenched into the church?
Oh
You
yeah.
know, the fall of man is woman, kind of the first sin,
Yeah.
Adam
Oh,
and
oh.
Eve. It's all entrenched in Kojic and all of the doctrination. So for me, I had to kind of be resilient in a way to when I was aware of like, wow, this is what's happening, to try to humble you in some way, to not shine as much, to no, nobody. It's just a different kind of pushback that you get when you coming into your own as a woman.
Mm.
And you know, I love my dad. I help my mom caretake for him. He has dementia. Wonderful provider. He did what he knew to do for us, even though he didn't really deal with his own family like that.
Mhm.
It was like once he turned 18, they said, "You're grown, you're on your own." So we know now as an 18-year-old, you're still a child.
Right.
Your brain is not even forming, and your family says, "Go ahead and make your life," you know? And my God, my mom and my dad started having kids at like 20,
Mhm.
25, 20, you know, like really, really young. So I think it's a complicated answer. I would say it's it's been a lot of unlearning, especially when going out to date. If I sense red flags or some kind of trying to humble or insecurity, or it's it's not that somebody's going to come out and say, "I don't want you shining too much." It comes out, and if you laugh, if you're a bright personality, hey, shh,
Mhm. Mm.
what, what is that? Why you need to wear makeup? I like, oh my God. Why you need to wear makeup? I like when women natural. Ah, it's a trap. And you met them shiny and glowy and just going and you know, it's those different cues that is now is like, hmm, okay. Or it's like the attention. It's like, you know, Pat Love Dog, you don't get the reward, or they hold back from the reward or won't give you a compliment even though they know you look cute. It's like, okay. You know, it's subtle things that
Yeah.
I've experienced. And, you know, it's been a lot of learning and unlearning, especially with the dynamic.
Yeah.
And then it's like in other cultures too. In other cultures, honey,
Yeah.
the humbling sometimes is coming in some way.
What do you mean?
Because culturally, it's cultural. Like patriarchy and everything else is cultural. If
Uh-huh.
they feel the woman is below, the way they address, the way they go about handling things with you, it will be a totally different thing. Sometimes you won't have this partnership. It would be, oh, she's doing this. Oh, they will feel this way. Not that you come at them this way. And they'll feel like, oh, well, now I got to. I don't know. It's weird. It's
It,
real weird.
Keith, you're nodding. Is that true? Is that like a competition thing? Like, what do you think that's about?
Probably, I'd probably stem from mostly insecurity, most likely, I would imagine. But I mean, I think it's like a mix between that and just what we like to call traditional values or whatever. So we could be raised a certain way, and we're in a very different time when it comes to that now. So like I think just doing a lot of unlearning is really difficult, especially for men, because it's
Mm,
like it's just I think unlearning is difficult for everybody. But I will say
difficult.
like when it comes to stuff, when it comes to men and women and what each should be doing, it can be really challenging to unlearn that. Um, so I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's a sort of just like knee-jerk reaction almost. So do you feel, Chase and Keith, do you both feel that men recreate what feels familiar, even if it's not healthy? Uh,
Mm. Well, I mean, I think at that point it becomes it's subjective, right? Like it goes back to like around your first question, like the man that you're dating, how were they raised? Um, what was their environment like growing up?
Exactly.
Do they have sisters? Um, okay, let's say they don't have sisters. Do they have healthy platonic relationships with women?
mhm. Do you think that's
Um,
possible?
for sure, it's easy. But
Yeah.
I mean, but it also just comes down to, sorry, let me revert that. That was my natural response. Sorry, sorry. But sorry, but I would say rewinding. I would say at least when you see women as an extension of yourself, right? Like yourself, the same way I see a guy, like I've seen a woman. I could have homies that are guys relationship with women and
Can you repeat that? Can you
repeat.
repeat what you just said? Because it cut out for a
Oh,
second.
it just depends. I think it just depends on your relationship with women. You could have homies that are obviously men. You could have homies that are women. It just depends on how you see them and what your intention is with them. Like I have so many homegirls that are genuinely like my sisters. I didn't grow up with sisters. It's just me and my brother.
Mm,
And I have a lot of homegirls. BB's one of them.
yeah.
I have a lot of homegirls because secretly I always wish I had a sister, right? Denise,
Mm.
right? Like,
Really?
yeah, I always wish. So, like, I don't know, it just depends on your relationship. But to what Pernell's saying, like, yeah, there are some men that this is just my hot take, right? I feel like now since bell hooks and a lot of literary finds are coming out and being more received in our culture, and we're starting to learn things, and we're sampling specific literary works that were documenting certain relationships. um, Now we have more things to pull from to strengthen our ties, our relationships with one another. And I think
Mm,
there are some men that feel like, to what Keith was saying, like that tradition aspect of being important or having a purpose or a value in your culture is dwindling. So I think some men just hold on for dear life to the traditional um, gender roles because that gives them maybe purpose or value. Like for example, like I sometimes do work with some of the indigenous communities, and what happens oftentimes, like men had roles as warriors in certain indigenous communities. Now, if everyone's assimilating into this world that we live in now, you can't just go and be a warrior.
mm,
So, how do you have now purpose if the society that you live in has morphed and has changed and you don't even recognize it? So you kind of try to, instead of like raging against the machine, you sometimes rage in your own home to the
mhm,
people that you love,
mhm,
and then
mm.
it creates this kind of contained vacuum that is toxic and cultural. And I don't know. That's what I've seen.
Wow. Keith, what do you have to say about that as well?
No, I completely agree with what he's saying. I think it is, it. I don't know. I think we just have to really like take a look in the mirror, a hard look in the mirror, and and understand that again, we're here to like kind of, I'm not gonna say rewrite history, but we're here to improve from the past, and not necessarily hang on to it all the time. And again, like I said, it's very difficult for a lot of us to do that.
Yeah, it's difficult, like you said, for women too. Uh, and I think it's there's this book called The Body Keeps Score, where there's so much emotion that's also like stored physically that and we brought up the topic of like how do you even have the awareness of this, um, that it's work, it's not, it's therapy, and for me, for instance, it's yoga. Like that's, it's like the breath, it's the movement, it's like the full body connection, because I can physically feel where there's like parts of my body that's like stagnant. And I just thought it was so interesting because what you said, Chase, about of course men and women can be friends, because there's always like this debate about um, can guys and girls be friends, like, or is the guy sort of like always in the corner, like waiting, like waiting for a shot? I don't know why we Monique did this on the last live with the Birdman hands. It's just like,
Not
like,
Birdman.
oh yeah, one of these days she's gonna let me get at that. And it's really interesting to hear someone say, it's like, yeah, no, I see these women as my sisters. And it really just sort of goes back to like community thinking. And I don't know, I love that perspective, because you just don't hear that very often. I want to know, do you guys, Keith and Chase, do you guys think men are taught to protect their mothers emotionally instead of expressing themselves? And do you find the same manifests in other relationships, i.e., like not telling your mom how much she might have disappointed you because you know that would disappoint her?
Chase, you want to take that away? You want me
Yeah, I
to?
try my best.
I,
Because that's a very heavy question. But um yeah, could you repeat that one more time, Denise?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can maybe give an example, like,
Okay.
because I see it like, sometimes it could be difficult. Like, okay, someone will be like, why didn't you just tell me what was wrong? Right? And then it's like, because if I told you what was wrong, you would have either deflected it and been like, well, you do the same thing,
Yeah,
or you would have gotten hurt by it. You would have felt the need to defend yourself. You would
yeah,
have felt like it, and then it would have just been like this argument, instead of us actually having the opportunity to hash it out and say, okay, look, I understand that hurt you, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do
yeah.
that, and I'm not going to do that again. And I think that starts, or can start, with our parents. And so the question is, do you find that's something that men specifically do with their mothers, where instead of expressing themselves emotionally or telling them what's wrong, they sort of want to protect them by not telling them what's wrong? And then maybe that's how it manifests in other relationships, i.e., a man losing his job and not saying anything to his wife, and then all of a sudden, like, she finds out once they get the foreclosed sign, and she's like, why didn't you tell me? And he's like, I just wanted to protect you. Like,
Yeah, well, maybe the what you're looking for, at least what I'm taking from it is, I don't think it's a I don't think it's as much because of a woman, right?
mm,
Like I don't think it's so gender based as
mm,
much as it is gender based in terms of societal norms. Like at least if you're a guy who grew up anytime from millennial time or even before, um, we're very indoctrinated through our social networks, whether you're playing sports, to not cry. And excuse my French, they say words like "don't be a pussy,"
yeah,
"don't be a bitch."
yeah,
A lot of anything around expressing your emotions and expressing yourself is usually deemed as like a low form of manhood.
Mm.
Like you don't meet the bar, and that's not measured in relation to a woman. It's measured in relation to your peers. Like
Mhm.
like your coach may say that to you. Your teachers may not say that to you, but it's usually the people that you're aspiring to get to their level or surpass with age and with time and with merit, whatever. So
Mhm.
when you're indoctrinated in that way and you don't want to express defeat or vulnerability, and now, when you start dating women, at least in my case, women are always like, oh yeah, Chase, express yourself. Tell me how you feel. And so that's like an antonym compared to
Mm.
how we are raised and or what we've been indoctrinated. And
Yeah.
so now, let's say if my first girlfriend, which my first girlfriend was later in life, like 17, 18, right? 17. Like now I've spent 17 years of being indoctrinated and being in male environments, male groups, and getting respect from males or men to now try to be vulnerable to a woman that I'm still trying to like understand because I may not know shit about women like that. I'm discovering myself. And now they're telling me to be vulnerable, something that I've never fully done with a woman. I
Mhm.
may have done it with my homies, but it's always surface. Like if someone hurts you, you be like, man, fuck that, fuck that. It's never like that guy hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
It's more of like, man, fuck him. Like it's all like um showmanship. And
Mhm.
so women want to see the full version of you, the full broken version of you, and you're like, what the hell is this?
Mm.
Um, so I don't know if it's just like solely tied to mom. Your mom's another woman. In fact, that may be the closest woman you have outside of a sibling. That like the woman is usually like your mom is the first woman that you come in contact with all the time. So you may practice that with your mom, but I think it's more socially stratified from our times being in men's circles.
When you say what the hell is this, you're like, are you asking what the hell is this in terms of even having the awareness of what that vulnerability is, or
Yeah.
what the okay, okay.
Yeah, like you have someone who's like trying to look inside of you like you're translucent
Mm.
and see all of the wounds, fears, whatever. And you're like, I don't show anyone that. Why
Mm.
are you trying to see that? And then so, at least even in my cases, when that was first happening, there's a guard up. It's defensiveness, like, yo, or it's you're pushing someone away in some way or shape or form because most men aren't taught that. Now, we're starting to see a change with like a lot of people our age that are having children. The men are actually trying to unlearn the behaviors that we were taught because it's not entirely positive and
Mhm.
it's not constructive. So
Yeah.
like to your what you're saying, Pernell, is like, okay, those men that you're dealing with in the South, like they're from the South, how many people, like even when you talk about the history and Denise, you were saying earlier, it's like something in our genes, like the body keeps a score. You're talking
Mm.
about epigenetics.
Yep. Yep.
If your great grandparents were dealing with beating, people talk about Joe Jackson all the time with this new
Yeah.
movie or whatever. And it's like they're like, Joe's such a bad person. And I'm not justifying what Joe did. But if Joe's coming from the South
He
and
didn't know anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
or that's what he knew, maybe beating was so passed down genetically and culturally that he felt like that was a way to instill discipline to make sure that his kids who grew up in Gary, Indiana, which is the most dangerous neighborhood in Indiana, they never did any street shit.
Yeah.
I
So
think
it's
it's
like,
also entrenched in Bible. Was
exactly.
spare the
Yeah.
child, spare the rod, or something like that. Spoil
Yeah.
the child.
Yep.
It's a lot of different things, but and I also dated. I dated a I dated African, Haitian. We're gonna go through the different flags now,
That's what
but
she meant by culturally right there too. That's
but
Culture.
exactly right there.
It
right,
is so
it's like,
different.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
the United Nations, but it's like a common thing what he was talking about, which I was talking about with Chase. Chase was talking about with men not wanting to be vulnerable, or in some ways, if you point something out, they won't take accountability and feel like you are the wrong one. Why did you point the finger at me when you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to sort something out? And it'll act out in some other actionable ways of trying to reclaim, no, I'm not weak. I'm going to do this. And I know it's against the relationship, but I'm going to do this because I need to claim back power of my whatever my ego's telling me I'm wounded or whatever. Um, yeah.
So Chase and maybe Keith, you can also weigh in. What would you say is the antidote to something like this, right? Because like, okay, a guy has his guard up, and I always think of it like the rubber band analogy. The more you pull on something, the more it's gonna be tension, and it's gonna snap the fuck out of you when you. Sorry, probably shouldn't be cursing, but I cuss. It's gonna snap the fuck out of you when you finally let it go, right? So you don't if there's a you have your partner and he's guarded. But you don't want to keep asking like, "Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? Tell me what's wrong. What's wrong?" Because that's gonna be like fucking nails on a chalkboard. Like, shut the fuck up. I don't want to talk about it, right? So you can't keep probing. But then if you totally withdraw, you run the risk of becoming an avoidant. So what is the best way to sort of strike the balance with someone who is has their guard up and kind of needs a little help with like excavating their feelings in a healthy way?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is just trust. So I think just like anything else, trust is kind of it's a thing that's earned and built up as opposed to just the door being wide, like just being let open and then everything comes in. It's just like, brick by brick. So um, I think that's the healthiest way to do it. Nobody's gonna they even just for example, I always like relate things back to like my time working with kids. You don't walk in the first day or the first week and expect them to like spill their guts to you about what they got going on or what they dealt with or what they're dealing with in the moment. You kind of just have to be there and wait for those opportunities, for these like little cracks, these little openings where you can say, is everything going on? Is everything okay today? Or like, well, how was the day? It's like these open-ended questions as opposed to like what's wrong, because what's wrong is like super direct and it's very like that's like going all the way in, and that's I wouldn't suggest that. You always like my mom does a good job at just asking these questions that like they almost like lead you to talking too much. It's like she
Mm.
kind of like guides you into just like spilling everything, and she's like really good at it. And when I
Chase, we should
started,
have had your mom on this live.
oh man, she would definitely like drop some gems even when she's not trying. She's just like she's good like that. But she's not gonna give you the sauce to like how she does it though. She wouldn't give it to me. I had to learn it myself, and I realized like I'm talking way too much right now, and I gotta dial it back. So, but yeah, like I think that's a huge thing is just asking the right questions and then just waiting for and just being there, just like spending time a little bit. I don't think there's any like cheat code to it, to be honest.
Mm. What's your take, Chase?
Um, like as far as a way to
A way
like
to
the,
support if you feel like, when a girl feels like her partner's not opening up, what's the best way to be supportive in that situation?
I think it's just like I think it would be like patience, like similar to trust, but it's also like patience, like even beyond gender, like I think yes, there are gender restraints and norms, but I just think everyone wants inherently the same things to be understood, to be seen, to be heard, to be loved um, for who they are and how they show up. And so I think, let's say if there's a block or your partner does want you to open up, but it's hard for you, it's like it's kind of like okay, even with you when you have your own blind spots and someone else is trying to help you see those blind spots, all you just want in that process is patience and understanding. Could you understand where I'm coming from? Could you understand that I'm trying? Could
Mm.
you understand that this may be new territory? um do you have that patience, or since you have your previous experiences as well, are you projecting from your previous experiences or maybe traumas
Mm-hmm.
onto me? And is that what's causing some of the friction? While really, it's well, all we want is understanding, heard, everyone. So I think it's just patience and helping someone have the time to show up the way that you want them to show up. But also after you say what you need, right? Like if you say you need somebody who could talk about their emotions or talk freely or know how to communicate, and let's say you know it's your partner or the person you're interested in, there's a block there.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to write them off, cut them off, get a new person, or stop talking to them because they're not equipped with the tools that you need in the moment? Or are you going to be patient and see that the person's trying, and you know you guys are kind of doing therapy work together essentially, um, or
Mm-hmm.
doing some couple work, some real work, especially in our communities. It's real work that we're navigating, our people, whether it's Haitian, like Caribbean, American, whether it's North, South, even African, we're all dealing with kind of traumatic things culturally,
Yeah.
even just with men and women that need a lot of mending through how we all survived. And I think if we just practice more grace for one another, considering we all survived, and in our survival, we witnessed dark shit happen to both of us where we couldn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you guys catch what I'm alluding to without taking it there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very evolved. I want to meet that person.
But where he at though?
Okay, where is that? Where you at? Because sometimes a lot of emotional labor will be put on the woman to try to work things out or try to figure things out. But I think therapy is very good for both people, to be on their own track and work through their stuff. Because I don't know, you can't. I don't know if one person can be everything to another person without that person doing their own work. Um,
But what if only one person is doing the work though? Like it's really difficult. Like if only one person is in therapy, do you know what I mean?
yeah, I think therapy is good. If two people need the therapy, they need to go on their own track and come together and maybe do some couples therapy. That's a lot of a budget, but I but I think that most times the woman is left to do a lot of the emotional lifting in the relationship.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about, somebody being open in different cultures, because a lot of cultures, period, do not look at therapy the way we know therapy works for us, and helping us a tool. They think you're crazy.
Yep.
What nothing wrong with me. Why do I need to talk to somebody? I'm talking to you.
Right.
You see, it's that kind of indoctrination of, oh, you going to a shrink? Are you crazy? Are you this? Or, no, I'm going to the shrink because I can't deal with the stuff that you have inflicting on me, trying to make me crazy. So I'm sorting that out. It's just like, but because I'm not here for the emotional labor.
Yeah.
I've been there trying to pull things out, and I just gotta hope that that person is open enough to do the work,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes they are not.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, it's also like so empowering. Like therapy can really just make you so aware, not only of your own patterns, but also like when somebody's like gaslighting you or like pulling something, and you're like, oh wait, no, that's a tactic. Scary. Actually, not going to deal with that, or I'm going to tell you that I don't like this and see what you do with it. So it's really just about like it all goes back to having that awareness of self, which is what we talked about in the beginning of this conversation. Yeah, we talked about the patterns. In this film, there's a subtle pattern that our main character has inherited, um, and he's not aware of it. Um, and I don't think any of us are aware of the patterns that we have. I mean, if you guys want to weigh in, I don't know if you agree with that.
Some I think there if you have like different patterns depending on like what we're what you got going on. But hopefully I would hope that people know what type of like can see like the loop because we all have like a little loop, but it can be difficult. It does take like some stepping away and like looking at things. And Pernell said it earlier. You don't realize it until kind of like sometimes I mean once it's over with, like once you're out of it, then you can look in and like look down on it, like zoom in and say,
Mm.
"Oh, I see what that was." So yeah,
Do
yeah,
you think that explains why, like, a guy could be in a relationship for years on end, and then, then we'll just like get married to like somebody new after like 2 weeks? Because we see that happen all the time. Is it just like the hindsight thing? Could that maybe be the explanation why that happens?
Look, hot take, another hot take.
I love it. Give
In
us your
that
hot take.
situation, look, in that situation you just described, from what it sounds like if the relationship wasn't working, they break up, and then 2 weeks later they're getting married to someone. That means they've been having a relationship with that person for a long
for
time.
sure, for sure.
Because
Ah,
guys, at the end of the day, we are still simple. Like, you know what I mean? We're very like straightforward. Like, oh, you want to go play that game? Oh, you trying to go to that party? All right, bet. You trying to go work out? Cool, cool. You interested? All right, cool. Like, what you like? You know what I mean? Just kind of, it's very like that. So if you're seeing those outcomes, chances are he wasn't being truthful.
wow.
Same with women. Same
Mhm.
if a woman was to do that, it would be the same, and
Exactly.
the backstory would probably be the same.
Same story.
Yeah,
I mean, and to be
Hmm.
completely honest, I see the same things that, like, I think it's experiential, right? Like, you ladies, if you have experiences with men, you're going to have like those stories, like, okay, there's a lack of accountability, blah, blah, blah. And, I think same with us, Keith, like when we're dating around and we're dating women, we're going to see those same things come up because I think it's just things that we're seeing in our culture come up
for
and
sure.
we all deal with it differently.
Mm,
But also, you know, I say this to jump into something new like
Mhm.
that. Whatever issues that person has is
Mhm.
still going to be in that new thing.
Yeah.
It
mhm.
may be the honeymoon right now, but whatever that thing is, or somebody in that is just turning their head. They're just like, I don't want to make waves. I want to, go along to get along, and this is my dude, and he wants to marry me, and I want to get married, and then
Yeah.
like people want the wedding but don't want to work on the marriage kind of thing.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to be a wife. Oh, this is a wife. But that happens.
Yeah. Checking the box. So I want to actually engage the audience. We've been really diving into some deep stuff tonight. Thank you guys. Um, but yes, victory and vanity says that's deep. It's something to think about. It is. Keith, do you want to ask our audience the question, our audience question?
Wait,
Sure.
Victory and Vanity. That used to be my student.
Yeah,
Is that my
she's a
student?
smart Professor Walker. She is.
Vanity, get out of my face. VNCC. When I
That's
was
so
teaching
cool.
acting, very, very talented student. Hey, Vanity, Vanity.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question for Victory and Vanity and everyone else that is tuned in. The question is, what is something you realize later in life about how your upbringing may have shaped your relationships? So, it kind of goes back to the, initial topic we were talking about how, that relationship with your mom, how big of it, how important that is to your other relationships as you get older. So
Mm,
maybe not just so with this question, it's not just about that relationship with your mom, but like what is something that you realized that, later about later in your life about like how your relationships in general shaped your like how your upbringing shaped your relationships in general.
Mm.
I'm trying to answer the question myself. Um, and what's something you realized later in life about how your upbringing shaped your relationships? Oh, you know
Uh,
what? As a matter of fact, Denise, you should kick us off. Actually, now
I
that I
think
think
I
about it, I'm
have
sitting
Yeah,
one.
here
kick the can down the
stumped, but I'm
road.
like, wait, it's a perfect time for you to do
Oh, Victor and Vanity answered. Saved by the bell. She said, fear of abandonment because of seeing divorce in childhood.
it.
Um, yeah, 100%. Um, and I'm curious to see like how or to hear Victory and Vanity how young you were because earlier in the chat we were talking about if it makes a difference if that happens when you're really young versus like if it happens when you're like a teenager and like what those effects are. It's really interesting. I'm obsessed with Frasier, guys, and I was watching an episode last night and it came out they were grown adults and it came out that their mother had an affair and it impacted them and Fraser is in his 40s and it's like damn it's like even stuff like that still can affect you even when you're so much older. I guess it yeah anytime like your bubble is popped of like whatever you thought this dream world is, it can be shattering. But to answer, she said, okay, 10 years old, I witnessed it firsthand. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, that's a pivotal year too. It's like right before you're in middle school and your body's going through all these changes. Max says, low key, my dad was so poor in how he treated people that it became my best example of what not to do. You mentioned that earlier, Keith. Or no, I think it was you, Chase. You were like, it's either you're gonna go one way and not treat people like this, or you're gonna go the other way and treat everyone like that.
Mhm.
Um, I would say for myself, my upbringing, honestly, it's a little something about like my communication. So my mom is so like passionate and smart and funny as hell, and her mind is always like working at like a million miles a minute, and she has a tendency to like interject in a conversation because she's just like fascinated and curious and like wants to know, and it's like it's with all the love in her heart, and it's like I'm not I can't get a thought out. And so it's something that I've it didn't dawn on me that I did it until I was talking to my roommate one time in college. This was my sophomore year, and I kept like and she blew up at me. She was like, "Will you let me finish a thought?" And I was like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Oh, wait, I'm doing it. I'm doing that thing." And so and to you guys' point earlier about like um having the awareness of it, I totally didn't even realize I was doing it. And then even still to this day, like when it happens, you just kind of have to like say, hey, and then, oh, okay, all right, I'm listening. Like I think everybody can have a crash course on like listening. Um, I think as actors, we're trained in it. So I really like was able to work on it through my Meisner work and really understanding like what it means to receive some like an honest reaction from somebody and respond in an authentic way without any sort of preconceived ideas or notions or emotional sort of work that I've already done. I just have to like listen and be open to what this person is giving me in this moment. And that also really helped. But yeah, anybody else have any examples?
I think I learned not to overextend myself and burn out. Handling so many others' needs, and I had to learn that in a crash course in my life where you overextend yourself and you're not even there for yourself, and then you have health issues and things come up and it's just like, what happened? You got burned out and you
Mm,
pushing past empty and there's no reward in that. So I think, and also not going along just to get along. If something's bothering me, I'm going to say it. And if that means it needs to be gone or it needs to end, or because the other way around is dysfunction for me, and also is conditioning, being
mm,
that southern thing. Oh, you have to be nice, you have to be, you know, that's not nice, that's not ladylike, you know, to be difficult or disagreeable or have an opinion. Like, especially as an artist, I can't live in that, you know.
mhm. Yeah.
Now, not to say I'm going to be a hellraiser, I'm not that, but I can't self abandon how I used to,
Yeah.
because sometimes you're going along to get along in what? What are
Yeah.
you in?
Yeah. It's sucking you
Right.
dry.
You know?
Yeah. Donald says the conditioning of showing more concern for the comfort of others. And now I struggle with people pleasing, which often presents from being fully honest about what I feel. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's deep.
Too real.
And I think that as artists, like that can definitely manifest with just because so much of what we do is um, we rely on other people. We have to keep a like a copacetic environment. So some of that is also just like conditioning for like our careers, you know? Yeah, that's a great take, Donald. Chase, did you have any answer to this?
Repeat the question, please.
Feel it.
What's something you realized later in life about how your upbringing shaped your relationships?
Mm, okay. I would say similar to Keith. I was fortunate to have a great relationship with my mom. I have a great relationship with my dad. My parents are still together. I
Mm,
saw my dad's parents together into old age. Um, so I've had a very strong structure of seeing Black love coexist. And I'm not saying things are always perfect and like a Hallmark movie, but um, there's patience even when people show you their shadow self.
Hmm.
Um, when you say you love someone, love is an action, but with a little bit of patience sprinkled on it.
mm,
And if you're patient with someone who is like raging a little bit, like where like let's say someone that you're dating didn't have their parents together and didn't see that love and are afraid of abandonment. So, or so, like, even if, let's say, your communication skills or when you guys argue, it's no one listening to one another. Maybe one person chooses to just remove themselves in that moment. If we're not going to have a conversation, maybe
mm,
we should like put a pin in this and revisit when we're both calm and ready to embrace it. But then sometimes, if someone has a history of abandonment from their childhood, they may see you leaving as a form of abandonment. So, and then that's something to navigate. So it's about being patient, both people being patient and understanding that. Like I was quiet for a bit because there's something I think you said, Denise. Someone said something where it made me think that like all of our relationships come from our parents. If our parents are the
mhm,
first people to love us into this world, and if you didn't see that love or that love was confusing as a child, how are you going to find it? You're going to find it through movies because
yeah.
it's a movie, you know, or you're going to find it through video games. You're going to find it through hip hop.
Mm,
Like, where do you find it other than trial and error, where other people that you're dating equally may have not seen love in their home?
yeah.
So it's like, where do you find it if you've never seen it in your community?
Yeah.
I was blessed. I am, unfortunately, it feels like growing up, I was a minority in terms of seeing my parents together,
Yeah.
seeing my grandparents together, seeing generations of Black love and how to navigate the world unified.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my peers have not seen that and used my household as an example, which is a blessing, a
Yeah.
privilege.
Hmm.
But at least for me and my brother dating, we've bonked our heads quite a lot. And it made us have to even date sometimes outside of our own culture just to figure out, like, yo, is it all like this, or is it just when we're talking to people that look like us that we're running into these
Wow.
like like tension? Because like I think it's a cultural thing. Like, let me just say the thing so that you could get it. What, like, let's say if our ancestors were enslaved. I like to study genealogy to make me a better director and writer, because if you want to tell stories, you got to learn about the stories that became before us.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what I found out in my case, and a lot of at least people who date their history to like America, a lot of times their third and fourth great grandfathers are going to be white men,
You're right.
plantation owners. Their grandmother that is going to be sometimes a 15-year-old girl.
You're right.
It's a lot of force. Now, think about if that girl actually had a partner on the plantation, but she's mothering a child to her master. Think about the dynamic that happens, and then that gets passed down generationally. There's so much stuff that happened to us that we're supposed to snap our fingers and pretend without therapy, right? Or without
Mm-hmm.
real, like if you talk about reparations, I think reparations should be a little bit of therapy, rehabilitation, like,
Yeah.
because that's like people surviving many wars and then trying to love people again
Mm-hmm.
without bringing that war into your home, because that war is sometimes inside of us and gets
Mm-hmm.
triggered and stuff. So I think it's just about realizing to love each other is a real radical act.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's a really type of thing. And if you have the skin for it, you could do it. And if you have the patience for it and understand that we're transmuting something here, that's the beauty, that's the light, that's the love that we're creating. But it takes work because some people have never seen it.
Yeah.
So we have to ask ourselves, do we even are we tired? Are we at the point where we're burnt out and we don't have the capacity? That's okay. If you don't have the capacity right now and you want that soft, easy, go for it. Sometimes you may see that in a different culture though, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But in our culture, if you want to still continue to love us, we have to understand that not all of us have seen that love like that.
Mm.
So you may have
Wow.
to be the example.
And
That's my
it's
experience.
that
Well said.
was so well said. That was incredible. And Chase, your background, you're American?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought you were like African.
No. But it's just because like on my dad's side, right? Like they're from the South, deep South, like Florida, Mississippi, um, Louisiana, and we're Gullah Geechee. Geechee folk like to preserve their African heritage. We're very
Oh.
resistant in that. So like on my dad's side, we even in the Southern Baptist Church, it was just like we were seeing black folks from Mississippi and shit, and they were doing just African shit. Like when they're catching the Holy Ghost, me and my brother used to just watch old folks with wigs going in. But it was really like some African shit. My dad played the organ. My grandpa was the deacon of the church. They're like Deacon Johnson, Deacon Johnson. So like we grew up seeing something that I think was a time period. It's gone. Like, yeah, there's black people still in church, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mom's side of the family is from the Midwest. They moved to from the Midwest in the second Great Migration. They came to Compton, California. We've been here since the 60s.
I feel so wow. Like all this time I've known you and I've never known that, guys. You don't know this unless you know him, and because he's sitting down. But Chase is literally a tree. He's 6'7". So this whole time in my mind, I'm like, oh, he's Kenyan. Like I just in my mind, I'm like, he's Kenyan, and that's why he's always wearing like African paraphernalia, and he's just a Kenyan, and that's why he's so
That's hilarious.
polite because Kenyans are kind and polite, and
That's
what the
crazy.
hell?
That's so
You
crazy.
probably thought,
This
oh,
whole
he
time he
runs
was just like
marathons.
me.
He's Kenyan. He's going to.
That's funny.
Definitely not Kenyan, but respect. Like, but to Denise's point of view, which she's valid. A lot of the times, everyone, I do kind of try to going back to transmutation. I try to transmute a lot of the traumas of the bondage thing and say like, yo, at the end of the day, before bondage, where was that side of your family from? Mend that gap. Okay.
Yeah,
What about this? You have white ancestors. You have a little tension with that. Try to mend the gap, Chase. Like mend the gap with all the versions of yourself, because those are the wars within yourself.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it sounds like there's just like it's really interesting. We also talk about like dating other cultures to kind of get some of that softness.
Yeah.
Um, because I fully can resonate with that.
Hmm.
Um, but it also sort of feels like you said, like the revolutionary thing to do is in spite of all the things that we know, like the Moynihan report and like all the stuff that was like implemented to like tear us apart, how can we um love in spite of that? And it sounds to me like what we've gathered from this conversation is that it just takes patience, it takes listening, and it takes just like the willingness to be able to do a little bit of like self exploration to kind of just see, where you're at.
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
if that's the offering, because it's really difficult. And it's also one of those things where it's like, I'd love to just forget it. Oh my God. Civil rights was like, I wasn't even born then, right? But then we're still feeling the effects of it in micro ways that it gets so deep because it's one of those things where I feel like this was never my problem to fix. Like I don't want to do so much work to feel like I'm laboring over this, but when it manifests in our relationships, how can I show up fully? Um yeah. Do we have any final thoughts? This was like way more than I expected.
This was a whole podcast.
Hmm.
This was brilliant, you guys. I knew it would be magical with you guys on. But this is such a generous offering and we could go on and on, but we were only supposed to talk for like we were only supposed to talk for like 40 minutes and we've been here for an hour and 20. Do you
Yeah.
have any final thoughts? Thank you, Victory and Vanity.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been great. I mean, I've definitely enjoyed it, and we gotta at some point do it again. With this group at one, run it back. So yeah.
Yeah, Max says, when is the A Story About You podcast coming out? Listen, Max, we might really need to do something because, with Chase over
Yeah.
here spitting like bell hooks, I'm like, tell me more, tell me more. Like, this is the stuff we need to be talking about for real, for real.
Hmm.
Um,
And then it could be, well, I don't know if you want to go to podcasts, rather so many podcasts, but in a positive, reparative, searching for the answers, the non-harmful corrective answers.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a lot when you're dealing with humanity, period. You know,
yeah.
we all have our stuff. we all we all have our stuff. And I really appreciate this conversation that's not pitting people against each other. It was actively trying to search and to say, well, if this is a thing, where's the genesis of it? Where's the thinking behind it? What's the experience you had with it? And that's the real thing, to kind of search and to be vulnerable. Now you know my business. Lord have mercy.
Oh yeah. If you,
No, but
I haven't
it
posted the last live, but they got me to spill all my beans, all my
they got
guts.
me.
Keith is like low key, like getting his Oprah on, like asking these questions. So
Has to be look. It's important. It's like it feels on brand to to the story too. So it just it makes the most sense.
yeah. Well, all right. We're gonna let you guys go tonight. Thank you so much for those of you who popped in, those of you who checked in, said hello. I'm gonna be posting this on the story about you, the full thing. But then you'll see some clips throughout the week from this conversation. Chase, Keith, oh my God, thank you so much for joining us tonight, for all of your gems that you dropped, and offering such a solid, beautiful, hopeful male perspective. Pernell, you are magic in a bottle. You're just like
Thank you.
the walking manifestation of grace, and we love you. Cannot wait for you guys to see her performance in A Story About You at American Black Film Festival. We're going to be there May 29th at the O Cinema at 2:30. So if we actually sold out, but you can still get tickets on site. Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
That's exciting.
Adwa hit me up this morning. It's like, girl, we're sold out, and I was like, yes. So it's awesome. Thank you guys so much for you guys buying tickets. Whoever like is already planning on showing up. But we're gonna be there. We're gonna be on the ground, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, people are
Thank you
hungry
guys.
for it.
See you next time.
Thank you, Denise. Nice
Yes,
meeting you,
Denise, you got
Pernell.
your pilot
Keith.
episode
Definitely
for
nice
the
meeting y'all.
podcast.
Yeah. And thank you everyone for listening to us yap for an
Yes.
hour and 20 minutes. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you guys. We'll see you
All right,
soon.
y'all. Peace.
Peace.
All right, have a good one.
Bye.